All right. So functional and factory class groups. Did I mention that this was important? This is the big gotcha. I mean, if this is something that we should not have questions about at the end of the week. It's happened to me once, and it was maddening. Maddening in myself because I evidently hadn't done a good enough job explaining it. Because this is essential Magento. This is how overrides happen. Okay? So we're going to start to actually instantiate Magento objects, and we're going to grab different instances from different places. Ooh. All right, so quick reminder, Gang of Four. I can never remember their names. But yeah. Four programming folk. They came up with this idea of like, oh, why don't we have a class actually instantiate other classes? It's factory. That's what Magento does. Magento has a unique implementation of that. We'll touch on this. So what does this look like? Well, this is called realization in Magento. This is a call you'll see lots of places. Mage get model. And then first parameter is model class, and then you can pass in some arguments that get passed to a constructor. What does this do? So this is Mage. So this is that file that we opened earlier, appmage.php. That's this class. Inside is this function getModel, define. Okay, that actually maps to getModelInstance. GetModelInstance says getModelClassName. Okay, from getModelClassName we actually use getGroupClassName. This is the only authoritative documentation that I have for calling a particular thing in Magento, which we'll be seeing in just a moment, class groups. I always struggled for what do you call it, short names, class prefix, what? It's class group in Magento. So again, we actually added this line in here, Mage core model config. This is where you can see this happening. So class Mage actually dips down into the configuration model. So this is a perfect example of what I was saying about how Magento interfaces with that configuration. With this class right here, if you ever have any question about the structure of nodes, you can find your answer here. It's all right in there, and you'll see the simple XML calls and everything. You can't know this class well enough. You don't have to know this class, but if you're looking for an answer that I haven't given you or you can't find and it involves configuration, it's in here. Okay? So, if you want to leave, now's the time. There's no going back from here. Once you go down this road, you're going to start getting really excited. Mage catalog model product. This is what gets it. Here's that call to get model, and then eventually get config, get model instance, blah, 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 goes through here. This is the important stuff to remember. This is configured. This is a configuration value, okay? This is it. This is everything. Config global models. There's config global models, config global helpers, and config global blocks. This is why those folders are actually, they're up to you what you want to call them. This right here is the prefix. And because name and position in the file system are one and the same, this always will map to a file system. This always will be a prefix for the class name contained in that file. All right? So, here is everything you need to know about class group definitions in Magento. Config global, and then either models, helpers, blocks. Inside that node, you make a node that is whatever you want it to be. So, getModel uses the configuration object to look in global in the models tag, and then we'll try and match this against something under models. Okay? So if I had foo here, that configuration structure that's been assembled, if I say mage get model foo / whatever, the application will look will use the configuration object to look in global models for a node named foo. And then in there, a node named class, which specifies this class prefix. So this becomes the first part of the class name. If I have product here, then the system is going to try and instantiate a class, Mage catalog. It's going to match catalog under here and try and instantiate Mage catalog model product.
With a capital P.
With a capital P. Yeah. So your naming in this case uses UC words, PHP function UC words, and I think there's a default delimiter in there, and I think the default delimiter is underscore. So I'm sorry to harp on this, but it's just it's imperative. This here, configuration model is used to try and find config global models. Look for that node here, inside that node, look for a class, and then this is the beginning of the class name. To that we append, basically this is a capital, or if there's, and there will be an underscore notation here. Similarly, it goes through UC words. And because of our, the conventions that we have operating in our system, well, that would be found at, app code core, Mage, catalog, model, product.php. That should be crystal clear to everyone. If it's not, please let me know right now, and I can explain this even more. Okay? And then down here, of course, we have resource models, because we just want to complicate things. As soon as you learn one thing, we want to show you another. So similarly to get model, there is a get resource model call, and get resource model does the same thing. Actually, the catalog product resource model. So this is how we would actually get the model that knows about storage of products. We would have the same call. It would just be Mage get resource model catalog / product. And similarly, configuration object will be used. We'll find. We'd match catalog, but inside catalog we would look for resource model. And in resource model we actually define another node under models. So then actually the system will hit this and then go look under models for a node, catalog resource EAV MySQL 4, and we'll look for a class node in there. We'll touch on all that soon, but that's the pattern in Magento for blocks and helpers and models. Once again, let us open up Mage CMS index controller, instantiate a product model and resource model, and create a sales helper and a template block instance. Oh, we're going to play with all of the different types here. We're not actually going to deal with that configuration stuff yet, but we're going to look at the factory methods that are involved. So these factory methods, and I haven't shown you all of them here. I'll give you the rundown for each of these. And in different contexts, you'll see different methods or syntaxes for instantiating models using the factory methods. So you'll have this is not a complete list. So you can have Mage get model, okay, and then class group, something. So these are all static method calls, which is why we use the Hamayan Nakuditayan. That's real PHP cocktail party stuff. Yeah, so double colon. In Hebrew, I think. Mage get model, class group. So this is, okay. So that's model. Get resource model, same thing, Mage. Get resource model. Okay. And for helpers, of course, we have get model, get resource model. So how would we get a helper? No. it's Mage helper. Just helper. Just cause they can. All right. So, let's see, helper. And tricky thing with helpers, by the way, I'll go ahead and tell you this because it'll come up again. You can actually just specify sales. And that's actually, in class group notation, that actually maps to sales/data. Okay? That's just one of those other things about the system. If you don't specify, if you only specify a class group, the system will actually look for a data helper. This sales here will actually map to a configuration file, or will hopefully, anyway, the config object will look in config global helpers for a node with the value sales. Okay? So hopefully this, in our configuration structure, will have sales, and then inside sales, we look for class. Okay? And then in that class node is where we would specify Mage sales helper. Okay? That's the connection. All right? If I said Mage sales not much of a helper, then it would look in a folder Mage sales, not much of a helper, data.php. I mean, that's all these strings do. But that maps, that has to map to the file system somewhere, okay? So, and that's what that's what these factory methods do with this class group notation. This is exciting stuff. Okay. All right. So, here we are at the end of lesson 6, and we're going to take a second to instantiate the product model, product resource model, sales helper, and the template block instance. So really this is just, again, not a very practical example, but something that should help kind of get you, those of you who haven't done this before, familiar with working with these factory methods. And we'll also kind of take a look again at what's going on inside the configuration. So you may have the index controller open. If not, it's again that's under App Code Core Mage CMS controllers, little c controllers, index.php. All right, so here we are in our index action once again. And it's very, very easy to instantiate these models and helpers and blocks. You can simply just say, well, let's do Zend debug dump call, and I'll just pass different things in here. So the first one we'll do is Mage get model catalog product. So in your own code, if you ever need to instantiate a product model, this is how you would do it. So this is just basic 101 level Magento. So let's see what the effect is. We'll go back to our browser here. Oh, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Let's see. But basically, yeah, that's what's going on.
we have a model. Mage catalog model product. You'll see this up at the top here. Yeah. So that's that. So what happened? But let's look at what happened. Well, Mage get model. So again, this is why I can't recommend enough having a modern professional IDE, where, especially for a system like Magento, where you can jump through function calls and get the PHP doc references, highlighting code completion, etc. And you can even use Xdebug to step through the code.